Okay, so we're gonna get started though. I think we have everyone here. I think there should be 22 people in the class, I think. So we might be missing one or two, but that's fine. We're gonna get started today. So today's gonna be a pretty laid back class. We're not gonna be doing too much today. We're just gonna mostly go over the syllabus, and that's pretty much it. But to introduce myself, my name is Patrick Phelan. I'm a graduate student here at CSUF. So a lot of you in here, or at least some of you, I've had before, so it's good to see all of you again. And then for those that are new, welcome to this class. Hopefully you guys like it. And yeah, so for those of you that joined a little later, you might need to turn up your speaker a bit today. I'm going to get that issue fixed by next week, but yeah, you might need to turn that up a bit. And then also, I'm fine if you just call me Patrick. I really don't care. And then if you guys have any questions throughout this class or any other classes, you can type it in the chat or you can use your mic, whatever works for you. And if any of you want to use your webcam sometime, that's fine too. Or you can just chill out in bed and that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen right now. I know for a second it's going to look really weird. I don't know why Zoom doesn't like recording my screen at first. And then again, if you have anything like any questions, just put it in the chat or just use your mic. Yeah, I actually just got this this mic. This is new. And a new webcam. I had a mic for 10 years before, like a Blue Snowball, if any of you know that. So that treated me well for quite a long time, but it's time for an upgrade. Okay, so first off, I'll open up our slides for today. So if you've been in my class before, I've never used slides. I'm going to use them a bit, but don't like freak out. I'm not just going to read directly off the slides and that's it. I'm going to kind of integrate showing something on the slides and then I'll actually do something on the computer. Or in the case of lectures, I'm going to write on my iPad and then I'll put that on the screen. Okay, so today I already kind of talked about, who I am. So I'm a graduate student. This semester, I'm starting research with Dr. Tran, if any of you are familiar with him. Or if you're going to maybe take a class with him sometime, definitely recommend him. Great professor. But yeah, I'm doing research with him starting this semester for blood flow, for doing some research for cardiovascular disease. So we'll be modeling blood flow computationally, just writing some code. Okay, so today's schedule, we're just going to go over Canvas. So that's something that's new, at least for most of you. I've never used it before, so I'm sure for most of you that's new. And then we'll go over the syllabus. So that's going to be, that's the main thing today. And then we'll go over the memo format. That's what you're going to do for 4 lab memos. And then you're going to have 1 report. So the report is basically just like a lab memo, but it's going to be just a little bit longer. Then we're going to go over Matlab installation. I'm sure a lot of you already have Matlab installed from a previous class, but if you don't, we're going to talk about that. And then we'll talk about the virtual computing lab if you need to access Matlab virtually. Well, if you need to access Matlab from your computer for a computer at school. And then we're going to very briefly today go over Matlab and Simulink. So that's going to be the topic really for next week where we're going to spend more time on that. So I know some of you, if you've had me, you've been using Matlab for your lab reports. So hopefully you remember everything. That's the basics. And then, yeah, we're going to go over Simulink. Some of you might have gone over Simulink in your vibrations class. This I know I did for a little bit, but it's not, I wasn't that involved when I went over it. So for this lab Simulink, that's what we're going to use for every single lab report. So you're going to get nice and comfy with that. Okay, so the general course plan that we're going to have is we're going to look at some dynamic system. So in the case of like the first lab, we're going to have a situation where we have a towing boat that's it's towing a submarine, and then we're going to model that system. So we're going to draw out an FBD, we're going to write an equation of motion, and we're going to basically model that equation of motion inside of Simulink. So we're going to develop our differential equation, and then Simulink, we're going to model that graphically. So instead of needing to solve it by hand, although you will have to do that for this report too, instead of solving stuff by hand, Simulink allows you to use blocks that they have, and then you can model that equation graphically, and it'll solve it for you. And then we're going to have to export what we just solved in Simulink to Matlab, to the workspace. We're going to do some post-processing for the data. Then we'll probably plot the data pretty much for every lab, and then we're going to analyze it and interpret it for the report. So that's the general workflow for each of the labs. Okay, and then for the experiments that we only have 5. So for the past labs, we've had 6. So we have more time, basically. That's how I see it. Usually if we were in person, we would have 2 or 3 where we would also do the lab in person. So they're usually pretty short labs, but you would actually do the lab in person, and then you would go back upstairs to the computer lab, and then you would start working on collecting that data, or the data that you already just collected. You would basically import that into Matlab and Simulink, and then you would work on the lab report there. But obviously, we're not going to be doing in-person labs this semester, so don't really need to worry about that. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. So whenever you have questions, just feel free to speak up, or again, use the chat. Okay, so we'll go over the syllabus in just a second, but first we'll go over Canvas. So hopefully all of you looked at Canvas. I was looking yesterday, not everyone did yet, and I mean, that's okay, but actually you would have had to look at Canvas, or I guess you could have gotten my email for this Zoom link, but if you haven't looked at Canvas yet, you just sign into fullerton.edu, and on the left-hand side here, you have Canvas, so you're going to click on that. It'll take you... Oh, you didn't know we were using Canvas till today? Yeah, there's a transfer that's kind of happening. So right now, instructors have the option to use Canvas or Titanium, but I think by next semester, everyone has to use Canvas. So if you were looking for some of your other courses on Titanium and you didn't see them, it's because they're probably on Canvas. So I want to check that out. Okay, so anyways, you're going to click on Canvas, then you're at your dashboard here where you can see all of your classes. So for us, 476A, I hope you like the picture. If you don't get it now, you're going to get it by next week. So that's actually our first lab right here. That's the equation of motion that we're going to use, and then that's the model in Simulink. And we're going to go over that in class. Okay, so this is the home page for Canvas for this course. So basically here is where you're going to access basically everything that you need to access. There's going to be some stuff on the left-hand side. I'm going to go to the student view. Okay, so this is how it's going to look for you guys. And I might be rearranging the course a bit in the next few weeks to kind of make it just look a little better and a little more intuitive, but for the most part, it's going to stay the same. So we have some basic info here, just my name, my email, the class meeting times every Tuesday from 11:30 a.m. to 2:15 p.m. I doubt we're ever actually going to take the full time. I would be pretty amazed. Probably most of them. Well, I guess I don't know. I don't know exactly yet how long each class will take, but past labs, they take like maybe an hour. So, but we're going to be having a lecture for one class, and then the next week we're going to start modeling the the lab in Simulink. Okay, and then office hours, I have them on Monday from 12 to 1 p.m. If you can't make that time, you can send me an email or you can message me in the Discord server, which I'll talk about in a second, and we can meet some other time in the week as well. So class links, we have a link for Zoom, so it's going to be the same link for every class meeting that we have. Then office hours, there is a different Zoom link for that. And then we have the Discord server. So this class is going to have a Discord server where you can talk about whatever you want to talk about on one channel, just general. And then we're going to have a channel for each lab that we're going to do. So last semester, I had some students that made a Discord channel for 306B, and that seems like a good method of communication. I know at least one of you are in here that were using that, so I think it was a good method to work with others. If you had a question on the lab, you could ask your fellow classmates if they could figure something out, or I pop in there pretty often as well, and I can help you out in there. So it's just a faster mode of communication versus email, like sending 10 emails throughout the day versus just replying back and forth in real time on Discord. So you can click on the link here, and that's going to take you to the invite link that I have, and you just need to sign up if you already don't have an account, or if you do, you can just sign in. And if we go to Discord, okay, so there are some of you already in here now. So if you look on the left here, we have just one channel for general, and then we have another channel for the first lab, and then I'll add the other channels for the other labs as we go on in the semester. Okay. So any questions for anything on Canvas so far? Okay. And then if we go below the class links, I have a link for downloading Matlab, which I'll go over later on. And then I have a link for the virtual computer lab, which I'll also go over in a bit. And then below that, we have schedule, assignments, and lectures. So this is where you're going to access all the slides that I have. It's going to go week by week. So let's click on week 1 right now. So this is just going to be the intro for the class. So I have the schedule written out for what we're going to do for that class meeting. So today, intro, Canvas, syllabus, I already went over all that. Then homework. So homework, I guess, is kind of in quotes here. So you just need to make sure that you install Matlab and Simulink, but when you install Matlab, you can also install Simulink at that same time. So just make sure that you have that installed by next Tuesday, because we're going to start using it then. We're going to review Matlab and then go over how to use Simulink. And then optional is refresh yourself on Matlab. So of course, by saying optional, no one's going to do it, but it'd be a good idea to refresh yourself on Matlab before next class. And then you can check out the Simulink interface. So we're going to briefly go over that today, but you can kind of play around with it and see, what you can model in there yourself. And there's a lot of good tutorials on YouTube as well if you just want to check them out. And then I'm also going to post the lecture that we had for that class. So later today, I'm going to post what I'm recording right now. So I am recording this lecture. I'm recording it with Zoom with their software, and it's okay, but it's not the best. So I'm trying to figure out how I can hook up OBS to Zoom, but it's somewhat there's somewhat of a conflict with that. So I need to look into that a bit more. But for now, I'm using Zoom's recording feature. And then if I have any other relevant videos, like I might have a relevant video, let's say for the first lab, for something in Simulink or anything that's relevant, I'll post that as well in this section right here. Now if we go back home, there is an announcements tab, or actually let me go back to the home tab. I have 2 more things. Okay, so we have the schedule, assignments, and lectures, and then below that, I have a little part for resources. I might add some more here, but for now, I have my YouTube channel. So I'm going to be uploading the lectures to my YouTube channel. And then I have MathWorks as well. So for the YouTube channel, if we click on that, you're going to see the videos. So a lot of this is from last semester and the semester before. And then this is for my other class, but I'm going to make a playlist for this class. And then you can see all the lectures there. And also below, I put, this is basically unrelated to the class, but I think it's helpful for a lot of people. So if you've had me before, you've probably heard me talk about using Latex, which is basically like, you can kind of think of it like a substitute to Microsoft Word. So you can type out your reports in Latex. It's a typesetting system. And I think it's a lot better than Microsoft Word personally, for at least for writing reports. If you want to like write out an equation, which we're going to be doing a lot of for the reports with your equation of motion, you can type them out really fast in Latex. The formatting is a lot easier in Latex once you pick up, that kind of syntax that you have to use in Latex. And yeah, so there's no frustration with formatting like I always have with Microsoft Word. But I'm gonna try to upload a video for that this semester, because I never did in the past semesters. But I'll try to make it basically relevant to the class, so you can learn specific syntax in LaTeX that would be useful when you are writing the lab report. You don't have to use LaTeX at all. You can continue with Microsoft Word. That's totally fine, but it's just something that I recommend. And then, so that one's more relevant than the next one, Vim. That's a text editor. I actually write LaTeX stuff inside of that text editor, but this is a little more far out there, so I might make that. But basically, you can just check them out if you're interested, because I think they can help out your workflow. Okay, so then MathWorks. So they have a lot of good tutorials on Matlab and Simulink. And there's also good documentation. So if you've used, well, all of you should have taken the class for Matlab, at least if you've gone here for undergrad. EGME 205, that's the Matlab class. So you're probably familiar with the documentation that they have with Matlab. But basically, I linked, and they just changed their layout for this link, I guess, but I linked the tutorial page for Matlab. And so it's going to take you to this page here. So they have tutorials for Matlab here, and then tutorials for Simulink as well. Or you can just, go to YouTube, and there's a lot of good stuff there too. And hopefully, you should be able to pick up all the technique that you need to know just from the lectures in class. Okay, so that's the home page for Canvas. And then if you look on the left, we have the announcements page. So I already sent out one announcement, and all of you should have gotten an email that was this announcement. But announcements will go in Canvas as well in that tab. So make sure to keep your notification settings the same right now. So by default, if I have an announcement, it's going to send you an email. You can disable that, but if you disable that, then you're not going to receive whatever announcement that I made in an email. And there might be some important like links for Zoom. If we need to change the Zoom link for whatever reason, then we want to make sure that you can get that email. So just keep that at the default setting. Okay, assignments. So assignments for this, I guess this will probably really be the only, and in quotes again, assignment. You just need to install Matlab by the next class meeting. And then your other assignments are just going to be the report. So you're going to have 4 lab memos and then 1 lab report. And if we go to pages, basically everything is organized by pages. That's how I'm going to do it in this class. So if you click on view all pages, then you see the home page that we have, and then also a page for this week. So if we go to the home page, so this is one page here, and then on the home page, I have a link to a different page, which is, the schedule for this week. So if you just want to look at all of them at a quick glance, you can click on Pages on the left-hand side here, and then View All Pages. Okay, and then we have a link for everyone in the class. So if you want to I don't know, get in contact with someone, you can click on their name, and I think you should be able to email them then, or really just go into Discord and send a message in there. So my other class, they're already using Discord quite a lot, so I hope you guys are going to use Discord too, because it should be something that's more familiar to at least a lot of you, and hopefully you actually use it a lot instead of like on Titanium, you would sometimes have instructors say, okay, yeah, go on our discussion forum, you can use that, ask questions, and no one ever uses it. So we're going to try to avoid that. So use Discord. I think it really is helpful. If you have a question on the lab, you can ask me, ask other students, upload an image if your Simulink models are not running right. Whatever the case is, you can do that easily in Discord. Okay, so that's pretty much it for Canvas. Any questions on the navigation or anything in Canvas? Okay. All right, so I want to make sure I'm following my schedule here. Okay, so yeah, now we're going to go over the syllabus, and then I'll talk about the formats for your memo and the report. Are you going to get my email? I actually made sure I messaged Kyle in this class to be sure that he got the email, but yeah, can other people, can you put in the chat if you got the email? Well, I sent it earlier in the week, I think, or maybe it was yesterday. I forget. Okay, so Alex got it. Yeah, it might be in your junk folder. Also, remember that Calster Fullerton, we switched from Gmail to Outlook, so there's kind of a whole issue with that. Okay, so it seems like, yeah, you should have gotten it. I think it was Adrian that didn't get it. Yeah. So you should have got it. Okay. All right. Anyways, if you never get the email, just be sure to tell me. But yeah, you should. Okay. All right. So we're gonna go over the syllabus now. So the syllabus, that's on the course website as well. So I'm gonna go back to Canvas really quick. And so yeah, the syllabus is under basic information on the home page. You can click on that, either download it or open it up in your browser. And at least on, this is basically Google Chrome that I'm in right now. They don't show a little box around stuff that I have hyperlinked, but you can see when I go over it, it says that I can click on it. But if you download it, you should be able to see this cyan box around stuff that I have hyperlinked. So you can click on that in your PDF viewer. Okay, so hopefully you looked at the syllabus too, but if you didn't, that's fine. So locations, obviously it's going to be Zoom every week from Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. to 2:15. It's never going to go to 2:15. Highly doubt it. Instructor, me, office, virtual, Zoom. Office hours 12 to 1. Again, email me if you can't make that and we can schedule a different time. Course description. So this is just from the catalog. So we're just going to model dynamic systems, basically. That's all you really need to know. Prereq, EGME 306B, and vibration. So 306B, I think they just have that as a prereq just because that's the lab before this one, but really that's not very relevant for this lab. Really, vibrations is the main one. So if you hated vibrations, sorry, but you're going to be doing a lot of that in this class. A lot of spring mass damper systems. Yeah, oh joy. Yeah, I know. It's not the best, but we'll try to make it, tolerable. Yeah, I'll just say I wasn't really a fan of vibrations either, so I'm gonna try to basically what I'm planning on is, we're gonna have a lecture where we actually derive everything by hand, and that's gonna be, most of the vibrations right there. And then we're gonna go in Simulink and model it, but the main thing I want to focus on is actually using Simulink. So we are still gonna have to, analyze the system, and that's gonna be based on vibrations, but I'm gonna try to make it as I don't know, tolerable as possible. But this is the lab, so we just got to deal with it. Okay, resources. So you need the experiment instructions provided by me. Really, that's just going to be a lab handout that I post on Canvas, so you can access that. And that's pretty much all that's required. So you're just going to get that on Canvas. And then I recommended Matlab and Simulink tutorials from either MathWorks or on YouTube, whether it's for me or someone else. I would just recommend checking that out. So course outcomes, you can read through that. It's just, yeah, you need to basically be able to develop a system by yourself or develop an EOM by yourself and then model it in Simulink. And that'll be kind of related to the final exam that I'll talk about in a second. Okay, attendance. So I say attendance is mandatory for the class. So I say it's mandatory, but it's not really mandatory. I do have this actually as part of the grade. So basically, I'll give you a 100% for attendance if you show up to the majority of the classes. Sometimes you might not be able to go to the class just because, we're in this, trying to think of, unusual times, whatever people keep wanting to say. And we are, but I know sometimes you might not be able to attend the class because there's stuff going on with COVID, or maybe you need to, watch like a younger sibling or whatever it is. So I know you can't make every class, and that's fine. But if you go to the majority of the classes, then you'll get 100% for the participation. But if you don't go into a lot of them, then you're not going to get 100%. If you're going to go to a class, well, again, you should be going to all of them if you can, but just be sure that you attend the ones where we actually make the model in Simulink, because you're going to have to do that on your own for the final. So you're going to learn a lot more if you're actually in class. Okay, yeah, and then I don't require you to use your webcam or mic, so you don't have to do that, but, it's encouraged. You can at least use your mic whenever you have a question, but you can use the chat too, that's fine. Okay, so grading individual lab memos, they're going to be 40% of the grade, 10% each. So we have 4 lab memos, 10% each. Then we're going to have 1 lab report. So the difference between those is basically the report. It's going to have a few more sections than the lab memo has, and we'll talk about that in a bit. Participation, just talked about, that's 10%. Then the final exam is 30%. So this is something I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to do the final exam. I might actually make it like a final project. So it's going to be an individual project, but if I do make it a project, you will have basically, probably a week or something to work on that final project. And that'll be a little less stressful than a final exam where you have to, come in at whatever time the exam is and then finish within the 3 hours. So yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards a final project, but we'll see. Okay, you like the project idea. Okay, so if a lot of you like that, then I'll probably do the project. And I think, doing a project, you learn more as well, because a lot of the stuff we're going to do in this class, I'm going to be going over the model with you. We're going to build it together. Okay, well, okay, Sean, this final would be a bit different though. It's not, I would have some of it would be like the finals before where I test your understanding on stuff, but for a class like this, For a class like this, you would have to make a model, so you'd have to do something. And if you're struggling and you can't do it in that time that you have for the final, then you might be kind of screwed. Either way, we'll see. I'll probably make a poll sometime or something like that and see what the majority of people want to do in the class. We'll see. Either way, I'm not trying to screw you on the final or their final project. I want to make sure that the final project or the final exam helps your grade and doesn't hurt your grade. So we'll see. Oh yeah, but I was saying, I think projects help you learn more because a lot of this class we're going to be going over the modeling together in Simulink, and that's helpful too. But a lot of the learning that you're going to have for Simulink is actually working on something by yourself, so you can better understand why you're using, a specific block or how you can actually develop the model just on your own rather than being told how to do it. So yeah, we'll see. Late lab reports. So I'm going to dock 10% for every day that it's late. And I'm going to do that up to 5 days late. And anything after is just going to be a 0. So make sure that you get them in on time. You're going to turn them into Canvas. I'll make that, pretty obvious where to turn it in. And, I'm going to have a deadline just like on Titanium. So just be sure to turn it in by then. Now in past labs, I had a thing where if you used Matlab, you could turn it in a day late. Well, all of you have to use Matlab in this class because that's basically what this class is, using Simulink, which is a part of Matlab. So everyone's lab report is going to be due on the same day, which will be a Tuesday, or it'll be a Tuesday. And you'll have a lot of time to work on it as well. I think I have 3 weeks for you to work on it, but kind of forget off the top of my head, but that's on the tentative schedule at the bottom. Course website, so we already went over that. We're going to use Canvas all the time for this course, so make sure you check that out. Discord server, so talked about that too. We have a Discord server. And yeah, the etiquette on there is pretty informal. I don't, you don't need to use, proctor punctuation and be like really like, I don't know, formal. You can just be pretty relaxed in there, but you got to respect people too, of course. So if anyone is getting out of line, which I highly doubt will happen, but if anyone is, then, I have the right to kick you out. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. Okay, so report. So maybe I should have changed this section title to memo and memo guidelines because all of this stuff right here, this is for the memo. So yeah. Okay, so the report or the memo, that's going to be submitted as a PDF through Canvas. Make sure it's a PDF. I don't want to have a Word document because then I have to convert it with how I grade it, and that gets annoying. So make sure it's a PDF, and I'm going to actually restrict the file type that you can submit to a PDF. The due dates, they're on the tentative schedule. I'll also put them on Canvas, so I'll put that as an assignment on Canvas, and I'll also put it on the calendar on Canvas so you can check out the calendar. So if I go back here, okay, yeah, and then you can click on View Course Calendar, and you'll see I added something already, which is just install Matlab by September 1st. So I'll add the lab memos and the lab reports on here as well. Okay, so it's got to be typed. I think that should be pretty obvious by now. I'm sure your past labs, you have to type them out too. And then lab memos and lab reports, both of them, they have to be done individually. So you're going to have to turn in your own report, but you can work with other students and myself basically to get it all organized or to better understand how to make the model or something like that. So this is when you're going to use Discord pretty often, I would think. So you're going to go in there if you're having any issue, or if you want to check your work with another student or me, you can just take a screenshot or whatever and put that in Discord. Okay, so the structure. This is for the lab memo, so that's shorter than the report. So we're going to have an abstract. That's 25 points, so that's quite a lot. I changed it a bit from last semester, so 25 points. You're going to basically give an overview of the experiment that we had. So you're going to, in general, talk about the objectives, the very general procedure, and then the main results. And we're going to include some numbers here as well. So for the first lab report, I'm trying to think about this one right now. One of the main results is the maximum force on the towing cable. So this will make sense when we actually have the lecture, but that's going to be a main result that you have. So you want to be sure to include that in the abstract. And I'll upload some resources for the abstract for how to write it a bit better if you need some help, or just to make sure that you have everything in the abstract that I want to see in there. And the abstract for me, it's important because, it should be around 200 words. So that's not a whole lot, but it's a way for me to see, one, do you write well? Do you understand what the experiment was about? And can you actually summarize the experiment and the main results in a decent amount of text, being 200 words or less? If you're over 200 words, that's fine. It's not a hard cutoff, but I don't want to see a page for the abstract. Okay, the next section for the memo is going to be results. So in the beginning of the results section, you're going to talk about how you obtained the results. So that's the general procedure that you had. So for this class, it might be a little different because for a lab like 36A and 36B, you would actually talk about what was done in the experiment. So, you would talk about the Venturi setup or something like that. And you talk about that pretty general, but you talk about what was done in the lab. Now for this, it's going to be a bit different because how you obtain the results, it's all virtual. So, but either way, you're going to briefly basically talk about the setup for the lab that we have. And if you have questions on that, we'll talk about it once we get to the first lab to make sure that you have the format as I want it. Okay, and then you're going to talk about or present the main results or all of the results that you have. So for this class, a lot of them will be plots. And then you need to interpret the data that you just presented or the plot. So for that, you're going to have some plot, and then right below it, you're going to interpret what that plot is telling us. I've had students in the past where they just put a plot and that's it. And that's all they put in their results section. They don't discuss it at all. They might discuss it a little in the discussion, which you should be doing, but you need to interpret what that plot is showing us in the results section as well. And then you would expand on that in the discussion section. You would basically, draw some comparisons between one setup versus another setup or something like that in the discussion. And again, once we go over the first lab, I'll talk about this stuff in context with the first lab, so it'll make more sense. Okay, and then we have references. So I'm thinking what kind of references we would have in this class. Probably just the lab handouts. And we might have, one or two more, but it's not going to be as obvious as 306B, where, you might need to look up the air density at some temperature, and then you would need to have a reference to that textbook or whatever reference you had. But you should at least be referencing the lab handout because that's going to describe the experimental setup and, the important relevant parameters for the experiment. Okay, and then formatting and clarity. This is also a section, only 5 points for this, but I do care about this. So I'm going to upload a document. It's not on Canvas right now, but I'm going to upload a document that shows the general format that I expect to see. So for that, one of the things that I require, basically, if you have a figure, you need to have a caption below that figure, centered, and it needs to be a descriptive caption. So thinking off the top of my head for the first lab, you're going to have a caption for the max elongation for the first submarine, something like that, or the maximum elongation for corresponding to a cable length of whatever it is. So again, we'll get to that once we actually get to the first lab, but you need to have some descriptive caption. Make sure that your plots actually look legible and that you have a label on each figure axis. Make sure that the figure looks good. So make sure it's not like a super compressed JPEG that I can hardly see. Then grammar, spelling, you should reread the lab report before you turn it in. Make sure that your grammar is good, that your spelling is good. I'll sometimes correct like a really obvious or just a distracting error, but this isn't just a writing class. I can't correct everything that you have in there, but these lab reports are used to give you your upper division writing credit. So it is relevant to this class for how well you rate. Okay, and then equations and symbols, they should be obvious to the reader and they should be well explained. And if you have an equation that you're presenting, it should be on its own line, centered, and then you should have the equation number on the right-hand side of the page. And that'll be shown in the example document that I give you for the format. So everything that I expect for the format is going to be in that document, so you can reference that. Okay, so I do talk about the format a bit here, but that's just, in text, and you can't really visualize anything like you'll be able to with the other document. I'm not really going to check your text size here, but this is basically a guideline. So 11 point text format have 1 column, margins 1 inch, headers, you should have a header. I forgot to change this from last semester, but you're going to put EGME 476A in the top left, and top right, put the experiment name. So first experiment, put submarine towing experiment. And then your page number, it can be centered on the bottom or in the bottom right, whatever. And then for the rest here, basically you just want to stay consistent. So make sure your headings are the same font size, same font. Your subheadings, again, same font and same font size. Just be consistent there. Okay, lab safety, well, not very relevant to us because you're just going to be in your room or wherever you work. Retention of student work, so I'm going to keep stuff on Canvas for a while after the semester. So if you want to access some file in this course, you can do that after the semester is done. If anyone here needs accommodation from special needs, just be sure to email me so I can give you the accommodations that you need for this class. And then I have a link as well. Academic dishonesty, so yeah, obviously I don't want to see any cheating in this class. It's not really going to be an issue because you can work on the lab reports together. And if you have the final project or the final exam, it's going to be structured in a way to discourage cheating. So, but I don't think that'll be an issue for this class. So just be sure to not cheat, or else we got to go through all that paperwork, and that's annoying. Okay, and then the rest here you can just read on your own. Then we have the tentative schedule. So, like I said earlier, we only have 5 experiments in this class. So we kind of have more time than we had in 306A and 306B. So we're going to take it, I don't want to say slow, but at least in the beginning, we're going to take our time a bit. I need to add when stuff is due. Sorry about that. I thought I did. But I'm going to update the syllabus to have that. It's going to, be reflected here. So it'll show you when the first experiment is due or the first lab memo, second, third, and then fourth and fifth. And then I'll also put that on Canvas as well. So first week, we're just doing intro to the course and expectations. I'll briefly go over Matlab and Simulink as well, just to kind of let you know what it looks like. Next week, we're going to review Matlab and give an intro to Simulink. So we'll just do some basic stuff in Matlab that's going to be relevant to the course. And then we're going to probably make a few basic models in Simulink so you get an idea of how the block interface kind of works. And then we're going to start doing the experiments in the 3rd week. So that's the plan. And we only have, I think, 1 week where we don't have class, and that's the fall recess. So we're going to be here every week. Okay. Any questions on the syllabus? Okay. All right, so now we're gonna go over the Matlab installation, the report format. So, you know what? I'll pull this back up. Okay, so for the memo, you guys already saw that structure here. But for report, it's going to be just a little bit different. We're going to add some more stuff. So you're still going to have an abstract. You're going to have everything that you see in here, but we're going to add a theory section. So you got to provide theory, and that will be based on vibrations. So if you hate it, sorry, but you're going to have some theory there. And procedures, you're going to have that section as well. So procedures, that's not going to be too complicated for this class again, but you'll basically lay out the procedure that you had using Simulink and Matlab. So you're going to have those 2 sections, and I think that's it, but just as with everything in this course, I'm going to upload a document specifically for that, so it's very clear what sections you need for the report. And that's weighted more than the lab memo. Okay, so the report is 20% instead of 10%. Okay. Okay, so Matlab installation, if I go to Canvas, okay, so if I go to Canvas and we're on the home page again, I have a link to download Matlab. So all of you should have downloaded Matlab before, so I'm not really going to go in depth here. It shouldn't be difficult to install, but basically you're going to click this link here to log into MathWorks. So it's going to ask you to sign in using your campus ID. And then you're going to sign in here. And so again, this is related to the campus email that you have. Okay, so it's linked. Okay, and then once you sign in, it's going to give you all the versions for Matlab that they currently have. So they got, quite a lot here. If you're on really any version that you have, it should be fine, but there might be some differences. So personally, I would recommend getting the latest one. That's the one that I have. So if you want to be sure that everything that's on your screen matches up with mine, get the latest one. When I took this class, because I took the same lab, a few years ago, the Simulink interface actually is a bit different. So if you have I think I had 2000, actually, no, I don't remember, but yeah, I had some earlier release and the interface is a little different. It still basically functions the same, but yeah, just graphically it's a bit different. So if you click on download, it's going to download. You're going to go through the installer. Since you already signed in, I think you already have a license key that's associated with your account because of school. And you're just going to make sure, there'll be a screen. Let me go to a guide here. So you're going to see a screen. So this is the license that's associated with your account. So later on, you're going to see a screen that looks somewhat like this. And don't install all of this stuff. You don't need all of it. It's going to be a huge file. So all you need is Matlab. And I don't think they should all be selected by default. I think there's only 4 things that are selected by default. So that's Matlab. Surprise, you need Matlab. Then Simulink, make sure you have that because that's what we're going to use all the time. And then the other two, I think, is the Symbolic Math Toolbox. That's by default. And then I think they have like machine learning or something kind of random by default as well. But so you might not need that one. If it is machine learning, we're not going to be using that. But I forget if that is the one that's by default or not. So yeah, just make sure you have Matlab, Simulink, and the Symbolic Math Toolbox. We'll need those for sure. But even if you didn't install something that we're gonna need, you can install it later after the fact. So don't worry about that too much. And then you're just gonna press next. It's gonna install, and then you have Matlab.
Professor?
Yeah.
Sorry to bother, but for the Simulink, we check all of them, right?
No, just click on Matlab and then just click on Simulink, and like all this other stuff like the aerospace block set and toolbox, you don't need that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so you should only have 4 of them checked by default, and then that's fine. Okay, and then if any of you have any questions for the installation, just send me an email or go on the Discord and I can help you out there. All right, so I'm going to briefly go over the virtual computer lab. So some of you might need to use this, I'm not sure, but if you can't access MATLAB at home or wherever you work, if you still have access to a computer, go on that computer, and then you can access this virtual computing lab. Now, if any of you also need a computer or webcam or mic supplied to you, the school can lend you that, but I think you have to go through me. So if you need that, contact me, and then I think I have to submit a form to the department, and then I can make sure that you have that for the semester. So virtual computing lab, all you got to do is go to the login. I'm going to open up this guide too. So you're going to go to the login. It's going to ask you to sign in with your associated account. So you might need to actually type stuff in here. Then you're going to go to reservations, new reservation, and then you're going to see it says, please select the environment that you want to use from the list. So there's a whole lot of stuff here. But basically, you just want to make sure whatever you use has MATLAB installed. So this specific one, it's ECS, so our college, MATLAB, and then 4x10. I'm not really sure what 4x10 is for. I don't know if they're saying there's like, if this is the actual, basically, class, the lab that we have in the building, and there's 40 computers. I don't know, but I did use this one before, and it does have MATLAB installed, as you would expect. So you can either set a time to reserve this, or you can do it now, and the max duration is 4 hours. So if you need to use it more than 4 hours in a day, you can do that, but one session is limited to 4 hours. So you could use up those 4 hours, and then you can make a new reservation that same day, and you can use it however long you have to use it for. Now, I'm not going to show you actually signing in right now, but what you do is, I guess I'll do a mock sign in. So if you click create reservation, it's going to basically boot up the computer. So this will just take about 1 minute. But yesterday when I tried showing my other class, like actually signing in and using it, Zoom couldn't correctly share my screen. So I instead made a video for that. So if you go on the YouTube channel, then I have a video for how to use the virtual computing lab. So then I actually show you inside of it and how to use it there. Okay, but basically I'm gonna wait for this to load up because there's a little more to talk about. That's gonna load up, and you can use this on Windows, on a Mac, and on Linux, depending what you have. But you'll see, oh, okay, now it's 2 minutes. But it's gonna, basically when it's done booting up, it's gonna pop up with this. So you're going to have remote computer. It's going to show the IP address for that computer. The user ID, so that's going to be your CWID that you have. And then it's going to have a password. So you're going to sign into the remote computer using your CWID and then this password that they give you. Okay, and then you're going to click Get RDP file. So right here, this is using, I think, a Windows PC. So if you click Get RDP file on a Windows PC, you're just going to click Open, and it's going to open it. Windows already has a program installed to access a computer remotely, so you don't have to install anything else. If you're on a Mac, you have to install this program here from the App Store, so just search this up. And then once you click Get RDP file, so you're gonna click this again, and then you're gonna choose to open it up using this program, and then it's gonna open up. And then if you have Linux installed, you need to install this program called R Desktop. And then to connect, instead of clicking Get RDP file, you're gonna go in a terminal, you're gonna type R Desktop, and then you're gonna type in that IP address that they had right here. And then it'll pop up, the window to log in on that remote computer, that's going to pop up. And you'll just sign in with your CWID and then with the password that they gave you. Okay, so I guess I don't really need to stay on here anymore. I'll just delete it. But again, I have that video on my YouTube channel, so check that out if you need to use that. Okay, so last thing today, we're going to talk about Matlab and Simulink. I'm just going to quickly, open it up and show you very briefly the basics of it. Any questions so far, though, before we get into the last part here? Okay, so I think I already have it opened up. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna change the color really quick. Okay, so if you open up Matlab, this is the screen that you're gonna see when it pops up. So I'm under the assumption that basically, at least the majority of you have used Matlab before, because at least if you were here for your entire undergrad so far, you took EGME 205. I don't know why this isn't a prereq for the course. That seems kind of weird. But even if you haven't used Matlab before, we're going to go over the basics that you need to know for the class next week. Okay, but this is the screen that you would see when you open it up. So the window in center here is the command window, so we can type in commands here. So I'll show something very basic in a second. And then on the right here is our workspace. So when we're in Simulink, we're going to export relevant stuff that we just calculated in Simulink. We're going to export it from Simulink to this workspace right here. And that basically allows us to use those that data that we just exported. We can use that now in a script file in Matlab. And then on the left here is the current folder that you're in. So, it shows it here, and then it shows the actual path up top in this toolbar right here. And then it shows all the files in that directory on the left. Okay, so we're in the command window right now. So this, we're not going to use the command window too much in the class. We're really going to write a script file instead. But in the command window, if I type in a domain here, so x equals 0.01 to 10. If I type that, so we're going to say that's an x domain for a plot that we're going to make. So if I type that in, then it's going to show up on the workspace on the right here. So I have a variable x that I just made. And within inside that variable, I have this array. So it's a 1 by 1001 array. So if I double click on that, it's going to open up here. And we see that it's this, super long row vector. Okay, and then, I'm not going to talk about this stuff in too much detail again, but 0.01, that's our basically our like step size that we have. So it's going to allow us to make a very smooth plot. So if I do y equals 5 times x squared, and I need to put this period right here because we're going to be doing element by an element by element operation. So I'm basically doing 5 times this row vector. So I need that period there. Going through it pretty fast, but we'll talk about it a little more. So if I plot it now, and you see also y showed up right here, and it's the same size array as x. So if we want to plot something, our variables here, they have to be the same size or we're going to get an error. So if I plot it, then our plot shows up here. And, that's fine. It's good. So I guess that's just a very quick basic thing. But again, in this class, we're going to be using a script file most of the time. So if we're on the Home tab here, you can go on the top left and click on New Script. And that's going to open up this editor window. So you see here, I have X and Y. If I closed out, I can't save anything in this command window. I could save the workspace. I could go to the Home tab and click on Save Workspace. But if we want to write a program, which we're basically going to be doing for this class, we want to be using the editor to make a script. So if I did something like, if I exited MATLAB or if I type in clear, then those variables just went away. And I don't have anything to rerun it, because I didn't make a script. I could press up on my keyboard, and then I can access what I typed previously. But that's not going to be efficient. Like if I closed out of MATLAB, or if I have other projects I'm working on, that's obviously not going to be efficient, especially if I have, 100 lines of code or something. So that's why we're going to write a script file instead. So for that, you could type in, again, x equals some domain here. Do the same thing. Then we'll we'll change it up to something real fancy here. Okay, and then if I plot that again, so now if I try to run it, so I have to go to the editor tab up top now, because I'm in the editor window in MATLAB. So if I go to editor and then I run it, it's going to ask me to first save it. So I just name this class example, and it's going to be a .m file. That's a script file. So we're going to save that, and it just ran basically. So here's our plot now. So I'm going over this very fast, but again, we're going to go over this next class in a little more detail, hopefully just to refresh you. And so now I'm going to open up Simulink, and I'll show you what that looks like. So there's two ways we can open it. We can go to the Home tab up here and click on Simulink, or we can go in the command window and just type in Simulink. And if you didn't open it up yet, it's gonna maybe take a little while to open up. Even if you have a good computer, it just does. But you'll see in the bottom left, it should show that it's busy there, or I think up here, it'll show like a spinning icon. So you know that it's loading up. Okay, so this is the screen that you're first gonna see. So we're gonna click on blank model. That's what we're always gonna do. And then that's going to open up Simulink right here. So we're going to have MATLAB in one window and Simulink in another. So I'm just going to make that basically full screen. And this is the interface that we have. So what we're going to be using all the time in Simulink is the library browser up top here. So you're going to click on that. It's going to open up. And it's going to look something like this. And all of these blocks, they're going to be what we use throughout the class all the time to make our models in Simulink. So they have different libraries in here, commonly used blocks. So as the name implies, a lot of our blocks that we're going to use are in this library. We have continuous, so you see stuff like a derivative and an integral basically right here. And we have stuff like sources, so you'll see a clock, we're going to use that somewhat often. Constant, we're going to use that. Ramp, we'll use that. And then we have stuff like a sine wave or step function. So what we do, I can click on a block, and then I can left click and drag it into the Simulink interface right here. And then, so I'm just going to show you a very simple model. Now I can go to, I think it's under commonly used blocks. I'm going to get a scope. And a scope is basically a block that allows us to view output in Simulink. So I can connect these two blocks now by clicking on this black arrow. Let me zoom in. So I can left click on the black arrow and I can drag it right there. Or see, if I was dragging this block up, it shows like this kind of phantom blue line. So it's still there. Okay, it went away. Okay, so now I can just left click on it and then it's going to automatically connect. Okay, so if you want to change the properties of this sine wave, we can double click on the block and then I can change some of the parameters. So I can change the amplitude, and then I can change the frequency, and then the phase, stuff like that. So if I was going to change the amplitude here, I'll click apply and OK. And now that's changed. And so if I wanted to view this output, I can click on run. So if you look up here, it says stop time 10. So that's going to be the duration of our simulation. So I can click run. You see in the bottom left, it was showing that the script is running. So if I run it again, I keep it on the bottom left here. And so obviously it ran pretty fast, but some of our simulations might take, a little longer than that. They're going to be pretty fast though, especially if you're on a good computer. So now if I double click on scope, then I get the output that we were looking for on the scope block. Okay, so just a really, really basic model here, just viewing a sine wave. And then we also see that the amplitude is 2, as we expect. Okay, and then what we have, I said earlier that we want to take what we had in Simulink and we're going to export it to the workspace in Matlab. So I'll show that. Another way that we can get a block in Simulink is we can just left click on the canvas or whatever you want to call it. I might call it workspace sometime, but I'm trying to avoid that because we have the workspace inside of Matlab. So I'll try to call it canvas for Simulink, but I might say workspace sometime. So I'll left click on the canvas and then I can just start typing something in here. So we can do sine wave, and then you see it might be a little small. I can't zoom in on that, but it says Simulink / sources. So basically that's corresponding to the sources library in Simulink. So for us now, I want to use the to workspace block. So I just type in to work or workspace, and I can click on that. And now I have the block to export something to the Matlab workspace. So I'll just put this here. And what I'll do now is I'll click on this arrow for to workspace, and I'm going to drag it down so it can connect on this kind of branch here. Now I can run this again. And then, okay, so I minimize that, and then I'll open up Matlab. And then you see in the workspace now, I have that output from Simulink. So if I double click on that, you see we have a lot of stuff here. So we have sim out, and that's basically it's a 1x1 double time series, it says, but we also have t out here. So if I click on that, this is going to be our time that we just, basically like the time steps that we had from our simulation. And if I double click, so I just double clicked on sim out. So that shows us our time in this column here. and then our data. So this is the sine wave that we have right here. You see, at this time, 1.6 seconds, the amplitude went to just about 2. And then it does it for a duration of 10 seconds. So for us, what we're going to have to do is we're going to take this data basically in this double time series, and we're going to import a specific, column vector basically. So we might want to take the time. We can just import the time from this right here. But if we want to get the data, so each value in for the sine wave, we have to now basically assign a variable for this column vector that's associated with this variable in the workspace. So that might sound like a lot right now, I don't know, but it'll be pretty simple, and we're going to go over that part next class. But that's something that we're going to do very often. Okay, so I'll go back to Simulink again. So I think that's all I'm going to talk about today for Simulink. I just want to basically give you a taste of, what it looks like and basically what we're going to be doing. So next week in Simulink, we're gonna do some probably 2 basic models. A little more involved than this, but still pretty basic. And then we're gonna export, whatever data that we want to look at to Matlab, and then we're gonna assign a variable to have an array for that data in Matlab, and then we'll probably plot it, because that's the kind of workflow that we're going to be doing throughout the semester. So any questions on Matlab or Simulink? I know maybe it was a lot taken at once, but we're going to be going over it slower next time, so you can follow along also on your computer and hopefully understand it a bit better. But any questions? Okay, so this, I actually thought today was going to be kind of shorter, but hopefully it wasn't too long. So that's all I have today. So I'm going to stick around though. So if you have any questions you want to talk to me about after class, you can do that. But yeah, that's all I have today. So just make sure that you have Matlab installed by next Tuesday. And that's your only homework basically. So yeah, have a good week and weekend, and I'll see all of you next Tuesday. See ya. So Alan, I'm still talking to, let me move this. I'm still talking to Nathan. He hasn't gotten back to me. Well, he did yesterday. So he said that he's working with Dr. No to add people that are on the wait list to the class. So it should happen, maybe today or sometime this week. And I think, Sean, you actually got added. So you don't have to worry about the wait list. I don't even know if he's still here. No, he's not. Yeah, no problem. But yeah, you should be added sometime this week. There's someone else that's on the wait list too, and I don't know who they are. They never emailed me.